Hello, and welcome to Thursdays at 2, everybody. All right. Good to see you, Eric.
Thank you. You too, my friend.
Fantastic.
It's for those who are wondering why I'm screwed up on this here. It's just because I have a way with stuff. Look at, we can do it this way.
Yeah, but then I have to go like this. So,
Or we can do it this way. So anyone feel free to email me at bsincinerator if you know why this is happening. Oh, also, while anyone who knows how to is it even possible to recover a stream you delete? Because I had one of my favorite streams ever last night. It was just freaking comedy gold, start to finish. And I had two things in my that were processing. One for days and days, it said processing, and then the new stream from last night was said processing. And I was like, okay, these must just be bullshit. So I just deleted that one, and that was my stream.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. So I don't know if there's a way, like oops on the YouTube studio or somewhere to recover shit, or am I just screwed? Probably, right?
I don't know if there's just like on the YouTube studio, they do tell you that it will be gone forever. I would contact I would contact YouTube. I Google support, start a support ticket, and see if tech support can't talk to you about possibly getting your video back or what to do in the future.
It's not that important, but I mean, it was just comedy gold. We were going around Bellagio and went to every like Fendi and Prada and Louis and Gucci, and we're
like,
just.
I want to see that, but yeah, I lost a stream that never processed, or it never processed like 3 hours of it, or 3 hours were edited out of it by YouTube automatically, and I never heard back from them on it. It was one of the ones that I did in Denver, and that was never resolved. I don't know, anybody in the chat, if you know anything about successfully recovering deleted streams, let's see if we can't crowdsource this answer, because I'm sure we'd all like to see that one.
Oh my God, man. It's just I didn't realize just how funny it is, you know, as a layman, you know, in other words, not being in the fashion industry, to see, you know, a yellow shitty shirt, button-up shirt, short sleeve shirt with some wrinkles in it. It looks like $18 TJ Maxx, you know, would be perfect. $22 at Ross, you know, something like that, 2 for $40. But you these outfits are $4,500. The shoes are $1,500. The bag's $15,000. You need $25,000 to look like a complete idiot, as far as I'm concerned, in most of these. And there was a couple good ones, but you know, it was just, the whole night was just hysterical fun that way. But and thankfully I got to see it back. But
so yeah, there's not a whole lot of reality in those clothes. It's symbolic. Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing about it is you cannot locate a single celebrity in history that would wear any of those if they're not compensated.
Yes.
Because you look like an idiot, and it's meaningless. Like every superpower rich fucker I've ever seen, from Mark Cuban to Steven Spielberg, they wear the ZZ Top shirt and 501s at Spagos, and no one says fuck all. But they make you and I have a blazer on just to get the shitty seat, right?
Correct. So that's real. Power being or power dressing down rather than power clashing. Yeah, because they can.
Well, that's what Mark Cuban says. He goes, you know, the whole point of being successful was I could do what the hell I wanted. Like Dana White says the same thing, you know, with $500 million in the bank. He's like, why the fuck would I put on a tie? You put on a tie.
Yeah,
you come in with no tie and my fucking underoos. You know.
Yeah.
You wear a tie. Why the fuck would I wear a tie?
Yeah, I think it's called FU money. Is where anybody says, anything about that stuff, and it's take a walk, take a long one off a short pier. Don't have to do anything like that. Yeah, and I mean, generally the fashion stuff, it's for marks. It's for people that can be gulled by this kind of thing, by any kind of powerful person saying it, and by there being some kind of status symbol implied by you buying it, and you buy the thing, and that thing confers upon you a status above, like, I don't know, the regular unwashed masses.
Well, it's another thing that's always been funny to me. Like, there are some brands that do have some things that you can, like, a Louis bag by the design.
Yeah.
Certain things, you can see it from across the room. You know what it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's really funny if you spend $4,000 on a purse and you need to write Fendi on it, because no one would know.
Yeah.
So you take Fendi off, it's worth $80.
Right.
You put Fendi on, it's worth $6,500.
Completely. So, yeah, the world of fashion, muddles my mind this way. It's it's like the most obvious one of these tricks, like Scientology. As far as marketing and advertising, it's so meaningless and so overpriced because of the meaninglessness. It seems that people would get it, and also that industry is extremely cruel. So just the image that they portray to women, that's impossible. The models that are regularly abused in a gazillion different ways, to how the clothing is manufactured, which is on slave labor. It's extremely cruel.
And isn't it weird that the certain things like that, like they're the one place that doesn't have an excuse. Like, if you're selling your bags for $5,000 to $30,000, you can actually pay Selfless to make the fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to go to the Sudan. You can just go.
I'm good at stitching. I'm not that dedicated. And I'm not that desperate to finish a bag in an hour. You get really good stitching out of desperate people who need to do it. So, yeah, no, I want to see this stream. That seriously, you're so going into all of these designer places and criticizing and.
Just looking at the stuff, like some of like Adam, Adam, right? He's the funniest man in America. He's always in my chat. Adam Carmona. He said, and this is like the whole night just kicked off like this. There was this this sweater. I think it was Gucci, and it looked like Mork from Mork and Mindy. The sweater looked like Mork would have worn it.
Like with some kind of V pattern, and didn't have kind of shoulder things.
Basically, I mean, enough. It was close enough for where it was really funny to that recognition of it, and I started busting up. And then there was just other really goofy outfits and like stances. Like this one woman's in this stance, like she's trying to crack a test fart or something, and in a way that no one would ever stand in this. Instead of just like 80s shoulder pads, it was like air, like that Cartman outfit, and it's like this, and then it had something under her crotch, like to catch something or something in between her legs. The outfit was just horrendous, but it was every penny of 20 grand, right? Because that's just how they're going to roll. But I just one store to the next, and then you start laughing about that same, like, going into Tiffany and saying, okay, enough of this crap. Where's the good stuff? Bring out the good stuff. It's like, that flowed. We just took it all throughout the Bellagio, and plus we had some fountain. We got to see some the fountain shows a couple times, and that we got really good, really good. Video of that, and I love those dudes. Like we were talking about those. It's a big thing out here. Well, the news tries to make it like a thing where these street vendors have coolers, just like at the Rose Bowl or any other thing, and they'll sell beers and water, $2 waters, $10 24-ounce cans, of beer. And people are like, oh my God, well, a kid can get it. A kid can get elephant tranquilizers in 5 minutes before they go into any one of those Uber clubs. Okay. And you're worried about a Miller Lite. I mean, really, it's not that big a deal in Vegas.
Like tax money, I guess. And they're not getting state's not getting a piece of the sale. City's not getting a piece of the sale.
Oh, poor babies. And just like when you come out of a concert, I was at I saw Judas Priest at the downtown LA, and coming out there was the hot dog vendor dudes, and I love those bacon wrapped bastards, my favorite food ever.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. And there was 6 cops. So we're talking about what, $800,000-$900,000 worth of salary.
Yeah.
Following these guys and making them take their carts at the end of the street when the other ones come up to this side.
Right.
And they just so you're not getting anywhere. You're literally just wasting your time while someone's desperately needing the police who ain't showing up.
Yep.
And everybody wants them. Everyone was literally telling the police, go away.
Yeah.
Go do something.
But this is easier than working, so no, we're not going to go away. We're going to do this make work detail as much as we possibly can. Generally, that's what I've seen. It's really great. William Good highlights this around the city and shows all the different myriad ways that the police take on different kind of extra activities for themselves that seemingly aren't very difficult. Some of it's just standing around. Some of it's harassing homeless people, and some of it's harassing us protesters, certainly.
Yeah. And it's just those useless causes where the city's finally had enough. So they had to get the homeless off of this street, and then they film them getting them off of there. And it's so sad to see these people lose everything they have. And, but then they tell them they can go ahead and set up shop on the other side of the street. So what are we doing? It's a complete waste of time. Because it's a lot easier, like you said, it's easier than chasing down some serious people,
Yeah, like when they cleared out the encampment in front of Sunset Sound, it was just like that. It was that property owner kvetching to the city that got that action, and it just moved them a block. It moved a block, and it destroyed everything that they have. Yeah, absolutely, and gave them no services. And I remember he was talking to one of them who was working full time and living out there, and that's not an uncommon story.
Yeah, and they won't even bring to me there should be certain rules that apply, and I don't care if the people who are in those encampments are from Mexico or from Mars. I would have a rule, a law, where if there's 6 homeless people, the richest country in the world puts up a porta potty.
Yes.
Okay. Because here's the trippy thing: they're gonna pee and they're gonna poo.
Yes.
So where would you like them to do that? And Hollywood Boulevard is already so disgusting. I don't even know how tourists just don't say, "I want my money back." I mean, it's so gross.
Yeah. Keep looking up. That's how you could do it, I think. Keep looking up, just I guess if you don't know what dual diagnosis looks like, you might, it might be a non sequitur, and you might not see all of the terribly deranged, drug addicted people that are on the street as well.
And you know what I would do? I would take the homeless and give them the jobs of putting those porta potties up and maintaining them and swapping them out and bringing more and doing all that, just like Vegas does an amazing job every single night of the year, unless it's raining, which is 4 days. They power wash the streets at 3 a.m.
Right.
You can eat off them sons of bitches when they're done.
Right.
Okay.
Totally.
And and that's why it doesn't smell. You have more people walking on that in these areas than any place on the planet, and it doesn't smell. You never smell urine. You smell pot everywhere, but you never smell urine.
Yeah, that's another instance where paying a little bit up front, like paying for a little like city beautification and for a program where you could get willing and able participants who are homeless to do some of this city beautification work will help get these people more regular employment, maybe off the street, b beautify the street to where like the tourist attraction areas of Los Angeles will be more attractive, and you'll make millions of dollars in tourism from like a few $1,000s and getting like some power washers and some training.
Yeah. A buddy of mine was walking with me on Hollywood and Highland on the south side, and it stinks so heavy of urine right there. And then there's this guy in a Chewbacca outfit that he's obviously slept in for months. Okay. And we walk right by this, and my buddy was just like, oh, right? I was like, this is what we allow people's impression to be of one of our most famous areas.
Well, right.
And then across the street, you got Batman fighting Spider-Man and having problems with the Hulk, and Captain America was spitting on him. And I mean, what the hell's going on? Like, there's just no government. There's no nothing in LA in my eyes that I ever see. It's just people talking and then nothing happens. Where like in Vegas, like we were, I took everyone, we went down past the pawn shop, Pawn Stars, and came around, and all of downtown, like when I lived here back in '98 the first time, like downtown was pretty fucked up, and now it's almost beautiful. It's almost amazingly beautiful. Like there's a couple little tiny pockets left that aren't wonderful, but for the most part, it's super clean. Once again, they power wash the shit out of the sidewalks, and then they made an art district out of like half of downtown, and it's just beautiful. And I mean, it's just one cool shop after the next, and it's perfectly safe. And it's like they made this screwed up area really nice again because it was cheap enough for people to come here and start a business, which is really impossible in New York City now, and it's damn near impossible in LA.
Well, a lot of people are moving out of New York who like small entrepreneurs and small business owners are moving out of New York in droves.
All you see is Dwayne Reed, and Subway. I mean, no one else can afford the rent. So it's like, but so they got enough people to beautify, or whatever you call it, refab or re-up these places, and now it's super nice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's that hard to do. It only took like a year and a half to turn it all around.
It's not. It's just allocating the funds. It's allocating state funds, and then so if you're not raising extra revenue, then it has to come out of the existing budget, and that's the fight, is getting state officials to be able to see the long-term economic and social and health effects of these kinds of urban renewal programs over a 10-year span, rather than seeing what's right in front of them for this year right now. And if they're already squeezed, then they're not going to be able to see it as much. And if they're thinking on just like the cycle of their reelect, 10-year programs are like something unreal to a lot of public officials. Besides like the about 10% of politicians that I've ever met that are true believers, that are in there trying to do the work and will fight tooth and nail their whole lives, but get usually bowled over by all of the other kind of jerk faces in there just trying to get what they can out of the system.
Right. Yeah. It's but it's anyway, so today we're gonna go down 5 o'clock. I'm gonna start streaming from downtown
Killer.
for some rock and roll, and that's the thing I love the most about this town is I don't think there's a town on earth that can even touch this place when it comes to music. There's just, everybody is like you. They've been in it 40 years. They pay their rent with it. It's not just a fun thing I do once in a while with my boys. I literally put my kids through school with this shit.
Exactly.
It's like, this is my job. And it's so funny because the musicians you meet out here, they work 6 nights a week, man. They're hardworking sons of bitches. Correct. And they're doing 4-hour sets.
Yep.
It's not some kickback thing. I mean, if you're drumming, think about how much drumming that is. What is that? 24 hours a week of drumming?
Yep. Yeah. And so that's why, you've got to stay in some amount of shape to be able to do that. And maybe it's not the same gig, 2 gigs, 2 different sides of the city, or, 2 different cities on the same day, where you're doing like an evening freaking jazz cocktail thing, and then you're playing some late night club. Different styles of music, or perhaps many. Definitely. Working musician is a real job, and it's real hustle.
Real, yeah. And but the level of, like, the worst act I've seen out here was really good. Okay. Yep. Just because I might not be a fan of what they were playing, that's just me, but you played it perfectly. Right. Well, but the library in these people's heads, like I see downtown, I'm so impressed. There's basically like 5 bands that play downtown constantly. And these are beautiful stages you'll see tonight. And these guys play every song from, Jennings to Poison, to U2, to Berlin, there's no song these people don't know how to play. And then they're really smart, and they have the chick, who can help bring this tenor guy where he needs to be. And then they got the more baritone dude, the bass player who's singing that. And so they have someone to nail everything, and together they can sing Asia.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that they might be able to do like a Leonard Cohen track, and be able to do Debbie Harry, and be able to do like Brett Michaels.
And it's really impressive, when you see, and they pull it off without a hitch. And I was talking to a good buddy of mine, who a very large percentage of people would recognize if I said his name. And he's been a good friend of mine for 20 years, 25 years. Shit, yeah. And anyway, he said something really interesting the way it came out, because he's a super humble dude. And he left a band that sold 500,000 records to go to a band that sold 1 million records. So you have to make those decisions in your life, right? Because you need to get paid.
Yes.
And, and sometimes, well, it was funny how he put it too, because like most people, you're in a lot of bands at first, right? Because you're just trying to, hopefully something hits, and next thing you know, the Journey cover band is killing it.
Exactly. Say yes to what, be known as somebody that will say yes. And more people might ask. First.
But you know what he said that I thought was really neat? He said, he goes, things are going well as soon as there's more people you don't know at the gig than you do know. So if you're in a band where the only people who are there are your buddies, that's not good. Because they can't go to every show.
Yeah, when you're looking around like, what is this? Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. That's when I knew like my college band was like moving into that next sphere, when we like filling up bars and we're like, who are these people? Yeah.
You have to search for your friends, because there's 300 people you don't know. Now you're kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly. Hey. Yeah. And it's just interesting. Your crowd does well at the bar, which I mean drinks.
Yeah, it's also that's a good reason why people love country music, to play country music, and another reason people love rock and roll is, at the end of the day, that club owner is like, you know what? When Selfless Band is here, I sold $8,800 worth of Miller Lite.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what he's doing up there. He's my boy.
Yeah, come back, please, and you can control the entire door. I don't care. I just want that bar.
Yeah,
So that's what you'd get to working out. That's what with that same college band. That's what we got to. It's like we had a door split, and then once it got to the point where we were filling up these places with randos, we'd be like, no, we want the door. We can see you're doing great, so you don't need this money. And they're like, no, we don't. You have the door.
and there's other bands like that bring in the young crowd, and even if they fill them up, they don't make any money because they already come drunk.
Right. Well, in the beginning of the rave days, when that was ascendant as well, clubs, well, they had to pivot because they were making nothing off of their bars. Because these kids would be there dancing all night and they wouldn't touch the bar. And so they pivoted to, well, another business. Yeah, that was a problem for clubs, definitely. And they tried to do everything they could to make money at first, including charging money for water. And in the late 90s and 2000s, people died from dehydration because they were charging like $8 for like a Poland Spring bottle, like the little 8-ouncer or whatever.
Sure.
And so then in Massachusetts, by I think 99, they mandated that you had to have some free water available so that wouldn't happen. Because ambulances outside of this one club in the late 90s, it became so bad they park out back waiting for something to happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah, on the weekend. And it became a scandal. It was in the Boston Globe and everything.
Wow.
But, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of these club owners, they're pretty vicious types. And they'll do whatever it is to make a buck. And they were just, hey, $8 water, whatever. I mean, it was the same era like Woodstock 99. When they charged all those kids for services that didn't exist, and water that failed, and sanitation that failed, and everything else, and the kids burned it down because of that. So that it's kind of that era of concert promotion, which was kind of screw you, buddy. I'm gonna do whatever.
But anyway, back to the point I was making about this town and music, though, is that it's just pretty incredible to have the number of people here who literally pay their bills by playing music cannot be matched any place on this globe. Because there is not only, like, every big property has 4 or 5 places where they need the piano guy, they need this guy, they need the sax guy, they need the jazz band, they need the rock band, they need a country band. And then there's uncountable amount of bars in this town that also have bands play.
Yeah, with a gig.
So it's like that are packed.
Because like back in the day, that was like in the 70s and 80s, that was everywhere. Every half decent hotel had a bar band before satellite radio, before any of that stuff. There were live musicians doing that. And yeah, there are certain towns. Austin is kind of like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To that degree. London's kind of like that as well, as it's a music and media center. I know, not in New York to a degree, but not like LA, because it's where you're really trying to sell everything. If you're trying to make a splash, you're going to do it there first in that market and maybe get a whole bunch of support.
Yeah, and if you play original music, you can actually get paid out here, which is almost impossible anywhere else. So
it's easy, man. Yeah. Absolutely. Nobody will pay for original music. It's like back in the 60s. Back to that again, as far as like bands coming up, like no bar owner, Frank Zappa talks about this, no bar owner would pay you, or you'd never get a gig again if you were just playing original music. You'd have to pay what people would like to dance to at the bar and sell beer at their bar, and they're not going to drink to your weirdo music.
That's funny you say that, because my buddy was saying that he likes to use the Beatles as an example. He goes, if those four dudes showed up, 20 years old in any time frame, right, wherever, put them into 1999, whatever, and they just start playing at Selfless's coffee shop, the traffic's going to stop. People are just going to stop, because that's what happens when you play great tunes.
Yeah.
People just fucking stop. And
Yes.
that's why my buddy was like, it's good tunes. Even if even if I'm not a huge fan, because he goes, some of the hits that have paid my bills, I'm not a real big fan of the song.
Yeah.
But he goes, I know I was wrong, because when we play it 3 notes in, people stop.
Yes.
And you have their attention, and the place fills up. And even when you were just starting out, remember how like your band you were talking about, when you're on the 7 o'clock slot. And I've seen this with a lot of my friends with good bands. And all of a sudden there's fucking 150 people. You get off. The guy who comes on at 8 has his girlfriend,
Yeah.
4 buddies. Okay. The place is fucking empty. And then no one comes until the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock band. But for some reason, they showed up because you guys are fucking good. Your songs are fantastic. And people pick it up, and you don't know any of the people personally. And you palm press, but how the hell are you going to remember you don't know who the fuck anyone is.
Possibly.
And then the next gig, you're at 8 o'clock, and then you're at 10 o'clock, and then you're at 11 o'clock, and the place is packed. And it's like music can't lie. You know what I mean? Because the real answer is, do people like it?
It can. It definitely lies. Like everything, it's a tool. It can cut both ways. It could be used for nefarious purposes. It could be used for good. But certainly, I mean, catchy tunes, there is a science to it. A lot of them are being grown in some kind of a lab nowadays. But I mean, the genuine article, like you're saying, it has that kind of effect where it can't really be disguised, and it shines like the diamond that it is, no matter how rough the surroundings are. And well, it's why you still have people scouting out there for bands, because they exist out there, but generally scouting on the internet rather than in person.
They're created now more than anything, but it's just the fact that you can hear songs and know why the place is packed instantly, 3 bars in. Like, you're never going to tell your friend, if you're a really true friend, you're not going to say, okay, that's a wonderful song. You're going to say that was good. Right? You're never going to say it was bad, but you'll say that was good. And then the song that you really like, you're like, that one is fantastic, right?
Yes.
You don't want to be bullshitting them, but it's pretty obvious, is what I'm saying, because I've seen 100 friends play to nobody but the bartender and a bar back and me. Okay, yep. And what can I tell you? It ain't CCR. It ain't the Beach Boys. It ain't Tom Petty. There should be, within 5 seconds, why certain songs are as popular as they are, because you can't stop your head from bobbing and your foot from tapping. And it's just, you remember the fucking thing. You only heard it once.
Yep. Yeah.
My friend gave me a CD once, and I listened to it, and I was so embarrassed. The very next day, I couldn't remember anything.
That's tough.
I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. It didn't go in there. Oh no.
I couldn't remember anything. And I'm like, this ain't good. In my head, I'm just like, it's so sad but anyway, I guess that's what I love about music too, though, is it just, there's the artists that we all love. It's pretty obvious why we love them. And you can, like, I got a buddy of mine who's a big hip hop guy. And I remember the first time he heard, surfer music and shit. I was in Dallas, of all places, with him when he heard it at a buddy of mine's bar that's across the street from the fair, and he just thought it was fucking fantastic. The whole surfer music shit.
You mean like the Ventures, or like the Deltones?
Yeah, all that shit. And my buddy plays that at his bar. These little records, and puts them on, and puts on like cars racing. And next to him, and all kinds of shit. But he just that whole flow, Beach Boy type. And it's like I say, if it's a great song, it doesn't matter if you don't even care for the genre. You remember it, and you're like, that was good, man. I like that too. You know, and I have a million songs like that I love that I don't own the album to. You know?
Well, so, yeah, and the Beach Boys are a pretty good example. It's not something that I listen to every day, but you can understand why those songs are so resonant because, I mean, most of these things use harmony and melody in these dominant themes that are resonant and archetypical, that these patterns can be found in popular music for hundreds of years. And they're able to do it in a way that doesn't seem contrived, that's effortless. And that is in some way making it new. So it doesn't seem like you're using these same old patterns over and over again with some kind of twist, some kind of turn of phrase that ups the novelty, but with enough familiarity that you're like, well, this seems like it should have always existed in a way that it has, but not in quite that form. That's what I mean. It's the Beatles with like a whole lot of classical kind of passages, the Rolling Stones trying to carbon copy blues straight up, like Mississippi Delta blues, straight up. You know, what is it? You know, good artists borrow, great artists steal outright. And you realize this after a time. It's like, you're not going to come up with the ultimate, unique, original thing. All of this work is built on top of all of the work that came after it. And if you have some recognition of what's resonant throughout all of that, you can tap into some things that will hit people in the back of their head. They won't even know why they're so enthralled and drawn to this, but it's because, you're showing them something that's like the furniture of their mind. It's already that comfortable.
Yeah. All right. Well, we better get our A-lister on here, Portia Bell.
Exactly. Oh, we've been going for a bit. I just noticed. Okay. So, bringing to the stage, somebody that I've been fortunate enough to share the street with here in Austin, who's been holding it down out in front of the org and has been very brave in the face of, you could say, a whole lot of activity that's happened out there. And, it's not the easiest place to protest. So without further ado, bringing on the indomitable, wonderful Miss Kim.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome on in. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks.
To see you.
Your conversation was very interesting. I was listening.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, I don't know if we even talked about having guests. I think weren't we first just going to bullshit for an hour?
Something. Yeah. You mean originally. No. You're right. Yeah, it was just going to be us jawing for whatever period of time and an excuse for us to just have these conversations. But then honestly, I think it was really your idea, which was a great one, somewhere in the summer to try to highlight channels and talk about people that were doing really good work in the community as a way of underlining and reasserting the good that's going on in the face of a kind of fraught and difficult summer.
Yeah. Well, I love Miss Kim anyway. I watch a lot of your stuff whenever I can.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
I love some of the subjects you're willing to tackle, which really amazes me because you take some big bites, and and you have a willingness to confront chaos that's pretty amazing. And you're not really distraught by it. Like, you're very controlled, and I love that.
There's a thing about me that I tell. I have nothing to lose. I'm at a point in my life, maybe 20 years ago, when I still had kids at home and I had a job and all that. You know, I was always careful. My last job, I had a security clearance, so I always had to mind my P's and Q's. Well, now I have no job, no income, because I should be on disability, but my husband makes a little bit too much. And all those years of keeping in between the lines, you know, my whole life, all that's pent up. So I'm like, you come at me now, you need to be careful because I've got nothing to lose. If I go to jail, nobody's going to miss me. My grandkids moved away recently. So that's kind of, I'm a little different now than if I'd have done this, say, 10 or 15 years ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Makes sense.
So I kind of have a little bit different, you know, life than maybe a lot of people do. So I'm like, for the most part, and it's really hard to offend me. I don't take
Get that.
things very personal. It might have something to do with when I was in the army, but
Yeah. That would toughen you up.
yeah, I was only in the reserves, but I did go through, you know, basic training in the 80s before they had to be nice to you.
Whoa, yeah.
So it kind of toughened me up a little bit, yeah.
They told my dad in '53 when he joined the Air Force that you get your own condo in Hawaii when you join.
Wow. Well, they couldn't get me on that because being in ROTC in high school, I knew what to expect. So
Right.
I knew what I was getting into there. And that's my equivalent to people in the Sea Org. I know what I went through in basic training. The hardest part was the sleep deprivation. And it was nothing compared to what Sea Org people go through.
Yeah. So what was it, like 72-hour kind of jag being up for that amount of time and dealing with it, or more than 72 hours on sleep? For sleep deprivation, how are they running that?
Well, what it was is we would just go all day long and we wouldn't get in until 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And you had us, and if you got in past a certain time, we literally had 57 girls showering at the same time.
Yeah,
jumping
right.
in, jumping out. And then you had to be downstairs at 4 a.m. But I had the guard wake me up at 3 a.m. So we'd all go in the bathroom and shine our boots because you didn't have time to do it.
Yep.
And the fun part was you had to be downstairs at 4 a.m. in formation.
Yep.
That you didn't get to open the door till 4 a.m. And we were on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
We literally were at the door going, ready to go. And so that, other than the sleep deprivation, you know, it was just, there were girls that didn't, like when the drill sergeants came on the bus, when you first got there, and just like in the movies, it's just like that. They had their mirrored sunglasses. I'm your mama, I'm your sister, I'm your daddy for the next 8 weeks. Girls were crying.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, okay. Okay, whatever. Let's go. So I've kind of been like that for a long time. So like when people come at me, it hasn't happened very often because I'm not out there. I'm not as confrontational as some people are. Some people say I'm too quiet. So I haven't had too many people come at me on the street.
You do great work. There, you know, it takes all sorts.
Yeah, I like to talk. So I just talk.
You do well.
I do. I said I was afraid to be on camera at first. I told Pearl Snappy when I first contacted her, I said, you know, I don't want to be on camera. I'll come down. I'll just hold your camera. I'll hold a sign. I never thought in a million years I would be live on YouTube. Never on my radar.
Well, yeah, and you show up and you shut them down. You have the desired effect, so it's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's pretty easy though, because they're so afraid of everybody.
They are now.
Yeah, they're just afraid of people in general.
There's no way you can be right when you're wrong. That's my philosophy. Okay, and they know they're wrong. It's not in the front of it's not like the prefrontal or whatever. It's not something they can see. It's like, you know it, but you're so programmed and so trained and so fearful and anxious that before you can really give it any thought, you just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and because it's just the only way you're going to survive. So, You know, you believe me, everyone has that moment where, like I said, you go, hey, wait a second. And then you spend 2 months in ethics and you go, fuck that.
Yeah.
That's
Not
what I'm
cool in
hoping.
etiquette.
Again.
I'm hoping that something I say will click with them at some point. You know, I read off all the signs of human trafficking, and they check every one. And I'm
Wow.
hoping they do. They check every single one.
Yeah, they
And
did.
I read that off a lot to them. I've been getting them with the stats. I've been telling them that everybody's down stat, not just you guys. Matter of fact,
Yep.
Austin has more traffic than most of the orgs we see on camera.
Yeah, and Austin's dead.
Yeah. Dallas, they went up to Dallas a couple weeks ago, and they didn't even have all their lights on. Electric
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, I understand that property is a little harder to protest because of how the roadways are.
Yeah, it's
how
kind
they're
of back
situated.
in the trees. You can't
Yeah.
don't even really know it's there.
Right.
So I'm gonna go up. My son's going to school up there, and I'm gonna go.
Oh,
with him.
nice.
We're gonna go.
Well, that'd be
check it
interesting.
out. Because I've never been inside one, because I started protesting the week before this org opened.
Yes.
So they already knew me.
Right.
So I'm
But
kind
have
of.
you been trespassed from the property?
No, I haven't. I don't think they see me as, you know.
Well,
that
then you get your one still. You get your one. You could go into the org.
Oh, yeah, I could.
You just walk in there, and
Yeah.
then they can trespass you, and then you're not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
But an officer issued me a trespass warning for the org and for their parking lot. And I think Pearl Snappy was issued one by an officer, although it doesn't seem like the paperwork was officially finished there. So we're not sure whether or not she actually has one. And I'm thinking probably not. But yeah, that's you could go into that one. You could go into Dallas if you want for the first time, and then they'd have to warn you off of coming back there. And if you did, then yeah, they could.
So I'm gonna do it eventually. Just out of I do things out of curiosity, like the reading the Dianetics and stuff. I'm doing that out of curiosity, just to get into see what LRH was thinking and what these parents and grandparents of the ones that are in now were thinking and why they got into it. And it's been a very interesting ride with, people I could have never done it on my own, like read that book on my own, but doing it live stream with chat has been really interesting.
It's a great idea, and a good way to familiarize anybody with those concepts. Yeah, I think a lot of Scientology literature is fairly unapproachable for a lot of never-ends, or it just seems that way. But if you want to, I think, Eric, we've talked about this a few times, that if you want to know about like the real confusion at the base of Scientology, Dianetics is a really good window in to how BS all of it is.
Oh, so to prove that, I read a paragraph that was so gibberish. We were like crossing our eyes. So I got on to Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I read the paragraph and I said, now, could you make this simpler? And he took a paragraph and made it into one sentence. A normal sentence, like you or I would say. It made sense, but he literally made it a paragraph. So I look at the book and I'm like, the actual information is probably like a third of it. Yeah. And then the other, the other 2/3 is just bullcrap.
But that's why he was so valuable, because it's actually quite difficult. Like, even though Selfless and I can talk for 3 hours about nothing in particular, we are enjoying that. But he had to do this, with the Philadelphia doctorate lectures and so many others that were just, he knew already he needed 1,200 hours of bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. To put together. And that's why when I was listening to so many tapes, the 20-minute mark, if you would have, said, hey, what's going on? What are you learning or something? I might have been able to tell you. But then you hit me on the 40-minute mark and I'm fucking sleeping, I'm like, because I don't think he said anything that made any sense in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It was just non sequiturs, archaic words with definition, it's the 8th definition of an archaic word.
Nice.
And I'm like, what the and now you got to spend 30 minutes figuring out that shit just to find out there was no point anyway. And he could have just said something that I would have understood. and used a nickel word instead of a $7 one.
Sorry.
But what it does is it allows those tapes to be an hour and a half, which is what he needed.
Yeah.
Versus what Chat GPT would tell you, it needs to be about 6 minutes.
Well, it really helps if you're the aggrandizing egomaniac. If you're a self-aggrandizing egomaniac, I think it would be easier to expound and expand upon your ideas into forever. And with that confidence that he speaks with, I think just him speaking, and if you just believe in LRH, it really doesn't matter what he's saying. It matters how he's saying it and how he looks saying it. So Miss Kim, you've got a passage for us?
Yeah, so the first part of the book is how to read this book.
Yep.
Okay. That's the first chapter. And this is what he says about the book. And I go back and I read this a lot when we get into gibberish. So he says, this is how to read the book. When one is delivering answers which are simple, he need not make the communication any more difficult than is necessary to convey ideas. Basic language has been used. Basic language has been used. Much of the nomenclature is colloquial. The pedantic has not only been employed, it is also ignored. He's trying to say he's going to use basic language in this book with all them big words.
Yeah, by colloquial and pedantic. And I've discarded with all of the pomposity and the pedantry, and
so I go back to that a lot.
Ubiquitous within this tome.
I know. So, like I said, I think the information in this book is about that much, and then this is all just filler. And
I can't get enough. One of my favorite things about this entire movement, one of my guilty pleasures, I could watch a fucking 12-hour marathon every day. It would take months for me to get sick of it. I love seeing Never-End's reactions to not HCOPLs or HCOBs, because that's just too technical, but and already out of left field, but the books, right? Because the books were still written with the idea that you maybe picked it up without having any real knowledge of anything he did, right? But to see people's reactions and the look on their face when they get to the 50th page, like, what the fuck is this? You know?
I know.
A lot. Wrapped in a bunch of other lies that are absolutely absurd. And beyond that, ultimately really dangerous as they remove people from their free will.
Right. And see what we found in here, and we're only this far in.
Yeah.
Maybe a little.
Great.
Actually, we're about that far in. Anyway, what we found out is he's telling you how he's going to fix you.
Yep.
And talking about, how the brain works and how trauma, being re-stimulated of your trauma can shut down part of your brain and make you zombie-like and make you easier to control. That's what he's saying he's going to fix. Yet what he's really doing is telling us exactly what he's going to do and exactly how he's going to, get people and, control them. And that's what Sea Org is. Sea Org is they traumatize them. And then they're in an environment where they're constantly being re-stimulated, and that causes them to not be able to think for themselves.
Well, if you read Dianetics, already knowing the clear cog, okay, it's such a trip, because then you realize every last word is meaningless. Like, you shouldn't be saying nothing while you're having sex, because at inception, when you slapped her ass. Now, if that kid ever hears an ass slap when he's 15, he gets a headache or whatever. And I mean, it's just the dumbest shit ever.
Yep.
And then the quiet bursts. Well, let me ask you something. If I'm mocking up my own reactive mind, and all I got to do is stop doing it, what difference does it make how loud you are at birth or when you're having sex or whatever the hell? What difference does it make?
None whatsoever. And what if there is any evidence that is an actual phenomenon with any causal link to people speaking at birth or slapping butts during conception.
Yep. He says that you should have a memory. He said everything is like in your memory bank, even swimming up the channel as a sperm or the egg. He says you can remember that.
Right.
Yeah, that is some real. I mean, a lot of new agey philosophies you get into this as well.
Really?
And people, people claim that they remember things in utero, and
oh my gosh.
and
I thought it was just
maybe not to the point of being a sperm. That's some real sci-fi stuff, because I mean there aren't very many cells like beyond like an ability for memory or like any kind of cognition. That's really crazy. But there are a bunch of kind of new agey ideas about that, which are total BS. Maybe that's where he's reaching into like the more spiritualist stuff of the beginning of the 20th century, which I think included some of that. Some of the mediums.
I had an excuse because I never went clear. I want to know what the excuse is for everyone who went clear to then pitch the quiet birth and the don't when the ball hits me in the head, the baseball hits me in the head, and I'm out for 2 seconds. You can't say pass the mustard or whatever, because that could fuck me up 15 years from now. Like you have to be quiet. Well, why would you pitch that once you are clear?
Yeah.
At this point, it's totally unimportant. So maybe you have to pitch it because if you don't pitch it, then people are going to go, well, why do you feel that way? And then the only way you could justify not feeling that way is by giving up the clear cog. But to me, it's the same craziness that happens after OT3 completion.
Right.
How do you take another step?
Yeah,
my sister said the exact same thing that every other OT says. You're praying the next level is the one that's going to get you where it's like, why you feel that way. We understand, Kim. We get it. You got to get in OT4. Okay. Yep. And you're just like, oh, please let that be true, because this bullshit I just read. Please let that be true.
A lot of people on OT3. I think a lot of people read that and was like, they're still in, but they're in their head. They're like, this is such bullshit.
That's when my mom stopped.
Force your first like auditing the body thetans on you. That's the first one doing that. Yeah. But you're not self-auditing yet on 4?
No, you are. You're always self-auditing, but it's on the OT levels. But it's just you're taking care of the body thetans that are on you, and then you're taking care of the drug addicted body thetans, and then you're taking care of the thetan clusters.
Yeah,
it's just like a candy bar commercial or some shit. And
honey bunches of body thetans.
Now we're on the clusters. It's like. And that's why I think it's so difficult. Like one of my favorite things to talk about or listen to other people's opinions about is why they never came up with 9 and 10, etc. Because it's not easy, man. You can't go back to any of the body thetan shit. We can't be talking about your stupid reactive mind, right?
No.
What now? And supposedly you're all powerful. You literally control matter, energy, space, and time. Where, like, in other words, what would be the reason for me to do 9 if I control matter, energy, space, and time at 8? Well, the cherry. And we're going to get there.
And Doctor Strange, for crying out loud, like.
I didn't realize that, because I have said many times, why didn't they just make something up for 9 and 10? But it kind of explained it, because where do you go from, okay, you can control everything? I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, and they house those people. The OTAs, like, you don't want to show them around all that much, because they cannot demonstrate these any of these powers that they're meant to get, right? And as you age, you're going to show that more and more. And so seemingly they hide these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they must. But in reality, I bet the truth is they just hide themselves. Like, I mean, talk.
All right.
That's one of the biggest L's you could ever take in the self-help world is it's getting your truth revealed certificate and knowing that you're now that you know who you're not, you're ready to find out who you really are. And I put this together a long time ago that the condition, make sure you check this out and go over this because this is fun. The condition of enemy, okay, right before it's the second to worst. And freezing is low as you go, right? Well, in enemy, you have to
homosexual, right?
In enemy, you have to find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of OT8, you know who you're not, and now you're ready to find out who you really are. So it's almost, I don't understand the difference. And I've never heard anyone talk about it, ever.
These are two really good ones for former Scientologists. If you ever do another interview, certainly, both of those. Like, how do you explain the whole silent, like all of this silent, no ass slapping during conception, the clear cog, and being able to make excuses? Are people just making whatever excuses they have to after that, or what? And that one. So these are two really good questions.
Yeah.
And I would be, I don't know, but I mean, everyone's different, but like personally, taking an L that big, because don't forget, guys, OT7 takes people easily 4, 5, 6, 7 years to do. Really? I know people that were on that forever. Okay. And then OT8,
God,
people get through pretty quick, but you've spent every dollar. Okay. And you can't make a paperclip move. And the fact that you can't talk to another OT about OT shit, even though you're OT8, like that should have, one thing that they should have done, because this was really fishy to me. Okay. If I complete OT8 and then Kim completes, so like I can understand I can't talk to her when she's on OT7.
Yeah.
But I completed OT8. Now Kim completes OT8. And Selfless has already completed it. How come there's nowhere else to go? How come we can't talk about it now?
Yeah, we should have a club. All the OT8s.
There's no possible way you could hurt me or I could hurt you.
It's so secret that they can't risk anybody overhearing any kind of loose talk, and so we're not even going to consider talk amongst fellow OT8s as safe, because who knows who could be listening in. And by the way, if you're just gone clear and you hear OT8, forget about the wall of fire. You're being blown out of this reality completely by, like, on a subatomic level. Probably it would be so dangerous.
Yeah, of course.
I would be so embarrassed though, and I don't get embarrassed easy, but I would just be like, you know what? I would get home that day with my certificate, and I'd be like, they got me. Yeah, they got me, boy. They got me good.
Don't talk. They're too embarrassed to talk.
No, you're right. Totally, Miss Kim. That's how I would feel. I'd like a dupe. And you wouldn't want to expose yourself as that? And
what was that thing you were saying the other day, Selfless? Was it the some loss sub something where you're okay? I mean, like what you were saying, how that applies to like OT8. Could you imagine? Your brain's exploding. You're like, I've been had for 20 years and $4 million. They actually fucked me from the first day to now. Who wants to admit that? Oh.
And the fact is, like, everybody else maybe can easily see it, or at least like 99% of the population is like, oh yeah, no, Scientology's a very obvious big time silly cult that, I mean, it's like they're trying to advertise that they are, in a way, which makes it, I think, more horrifying for anybody to realize that once they figured out how badly they've been scammed, and then look at the uniforms and the regalia and the fake well, the fake, like you have military orders and all of these things. And then how many times throughout history Scientology's been exposed, how much of a fraud LRH was, how much of a vicious sadist David Miscavige is, will all be horrifying, will all be embarrassing, will all be additionally like, how the fuck could I, or like my family or anybody else? And like, Eric, I mean, shit, I'm just guessing at this. You've had to live it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then,
the good
but you're
news
so
about the good news about being a kid in it, though, is like I said, you don't. If there is good news, it's that for some time, like until I was 10, I didn't have any qualms about anything. So I thought we were on the right path, right? Because you trust your parents, and what do you know anyway? So it wasn't like it was problematic before that. I mean, in certain things, like I told you, like where I was scared to go in the dark. And then it's like, well, if you're not out ethics, you're not going to pull anything in. So why the fuck would you be scared? So now you don't even want to say you're scared, because that's what's going to lead to more out ethics shit, right? Or so no matter what you say, it always comes back to you deserve what happened or what's going to happen, and so it has the effect of censoring you,
right.
So many times I'd want to say something, I just wouldn't. And that's what my life was
And
like.
The OT8s, some of them, that by the time you get there and you've been in it for so long, you're ensconced, your family's ensconced, like you said, you don't dare say anything at that point. Even if you know it's all bullshit, you can't do anything about it at that point.
Yeah. They have you. They're risking your connection to your family. Yeah, they've got you by the side of the highway with a gun to you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I see. And so, in reading the book and how he studied hypnotism and all of that, and getting people, I just did a video on LRH and the black magic.
Yep.
He started that way earlier than we thought. I thought it was a couple years in the 40s. He actually started reading Aleister Crowley at age 16.
Yeah.
And so he learned a lot of, I don't want to say mind control, yes, but how to maneuver people the way he wanted to.
I mean, a lot of the practical magic stuff is, like directing your will and your intention, and that can be used to get over on people very much. And a lot of, I think, practical magicians, as they like to call themselves, engage in those things to be able to better manipulate their environment socially, in a lot of ways, and to be more powerful. And it's one of the things that even Crowley used to attract people in, is to influence people and be a force majeure in whatever it was that you were doing. And Crowley looked like he was a mover and a shaker, and he was in a way.
And LRH, if he was good at anything, it was deflection. I mean, he was fucking next level. Because what I've seen to be pretty commonplace, okay, with evil fucks, is they have to be really good at that, because sooner or later, Miss Kim goes, wait a second, what's with this bullshit with the whatever, right? And even though everyone else was scared to say anything, you did. Now, if he answers that, he's fucked. Okay, so he has to say, because your question was missed, so he has to say, deflect and say, Miss Kim, what do you not want me to find out?
Right.
It's like, wait a second, I just asked what the fuck you were doing with your hand up your ass or whatever the hell, in this thing. And your answer is, what do I not want you to find out?
Yeah.
What the fuck kind of answer is that?
I saw that in a lot of those Mark Bunker videos in the 90s. I saw that's all they did.
Yep. Totally. No, the getting right up in people's faces. What are your crimes? What have you done? What are you holding against LRH? What are you holding against Scientology? We know you're a criminal. When did you stop? Like all of these different crimes, because you've definitely been doing them Absolutely, right after Mark, and that was the attitude of Scientology on the street up until, like, I think Anonymous, and
It didn't matter.
yeah, that really changed them. But and then even more recently, like, they used to confront protesters on the street a little bit more, even with us, and now they won't talk to us.
Right. And that's exactly what that guy did yesterday. He tried to attack me in so many different ways. When one didn't work, he'd come in with something just off the wall.
Right. So explain to the audience what, like, kind of the scene, what happened at the Austin org there with this person.
Yesterday, I was almost done for the day, and I had moved to the corner because classes were letting out. And when I'm yelling, I have gotten a little louder. I'm not really even always doing it for the people inside. I'm doing it for the crowds going by.
That's the idea.
Right.
Let them know it's dangerous.
They might not stop and talk to me, but they'll hear the things I'm saying.
Yep.
Like, I love to say David Miscavige has a $200,000 car and y'all make $50 a week. Because that somebody doesn't know about it is going to be like, what?
Yeah.
You know? So anyway,
so $100,000 motorcycle and blah, you know, $150,000 like home theater and.
Oh yeah, I need a list of that stuff because I don't know enough. I need to get some more.
Oh yeah, no, you should see it. Just show him a picture of his home at Gold.
Yeah,
the house about that. It's disgusting.
The $50 million office building.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I've talked about that. So this guy, he's too old to be a student, and I went back and looked, and he came from he'd went around. If he came from the org, and he
he's in his 40s.
I know, and he wanted to act like he was with the group of students that were coming through the intersection.
That's hilarious.
But he made a beeline diagonal for me
through the intersection,
right?
Like, yeah,
diagonally, and I didn't see that till I went back last night and looked at it. So I get this guy, and he just starts. He goes, he's like, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer was a Buckeye. And I'm like, that's how he started. I have my Buckeye hat on. I'm from Ohio. And that's Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah.
And he just starts in just loud and rude. And well, at first I was like, oh, really? I knew he was from Ohio. He said, yeah, he went to Ohio State for a couple years. I thought he was just trying to converse, but he was loud. But then he starts attacking me. I can't even remember everything he said. But he's just like, well, you're promoting Scientology
by protesting them.
Right.
Ridiculous.
He was like, all publicity is good publicity. And he would just talk loud and over me the whole time. And he never made me mad, but I was just being loud, matching him. I kept staying with the facts. And he was like, well, have you ever gone to anything with Scientology? I'm like, no, I get my information from survivors. And he's like, well, then you can't say anything and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like staying with the facts that I know. I go, well, I'm sorry. I listen to people that escaped from, Scientology. I wasn't saying
I have to do crack cocaine to know that it's bad. Like
they must be loving. Well, he did admit. I go, so are you going up the bridge? I go, because he didn't look like he had enough money to do that. And he says, I took courses. I'm in there. I took courses. He goes, I didn't pay nothing. They're free. And I'm like, there was a girl watching us who doesn't know that much about Scientology. She goes, oh, well, he obviously just read an introductory pamphlet.
Yeah.
And so she's standing there watching this, knowing he's full of shit too.
Oh, we've been doing our work then. That's very good.
Then he says, well, he had a skateboard. And he said, if you can't ride a skateboard, you can't have an opinion. And I was just like, I didn't even hear half of the stuff he said to me. I had to go back and watch. I was like,
wow.
Whatever.
What the hell?
Just the weirdest stuff. And then and finally, I just kept staying with the facts. I wasn't engaging in an argument. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, he reduces to curse words and then walks off.
Right.
So, in my day, they were just like Tory, but even more, there was a whole bunch of Tories. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I saw a couple different days where there was like, Selfless and Miss Kim out there. Right. It was never anything big.
Yeah.
And there would immediately be 3 or 4 people that would come out and say, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know, and they'd be like, "F you and Scio sucks and you guys are robbing people and you're shit and we're going to see to it that you're out of here and fuck you." And then they would go, "Okay, I understand. I get that." And when did you first feel this way? You know, you know, and next thing you know, they're just like,
they're like almost in an auditing session right off the.
Their needle is floating. Now you can go. You know,
seriously.
And because they knew if they would have put up any kind of fight, anything, it would have just gone haywire.
Yeah.
So
totally.
by just coming out the way that Tory would,
yep,
it just sort of you see the fight go right out of them, and they go, "Well, I guess if you want to do it, whatever, but fuck you guys," and then they just leave. And so I never saw anyone there more than a couple days. Okay. And that's at the Celebrity Center on La Brea or at the Manor on Franklin, and never saw it at the Blue Building. And but that immediately
like they're pushing on an open door, like whoa, I didn't need this much. What is this? They seem kind of nice. Is it me? Is it the problem? Maybe I need Scientology.
They did such a good job of it that they could damn near sell these guys a book at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
And so,
that's the point, I think. Yeah.
And I think it just shows you how people are when they believe something and they feel the truth is behind them. And now you advance to today, and that's why I'm so ferocious in my belief that this thing is coming to an end, because they're not even allowed to do that.
No.
Okay. And you saw they're going to hide people in vans to go 40 yards.
Yes.
And this is the most advanced students in the world. They can't walk across Fountain to get in the front door.
They might hear something they shouldn't hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's abject cowardice. So my question, like at so many of the orgs, is how are you going to clear the planet when you're demonstrating all of this abject cowardice, when you cannot confront and shatter this suppression or any of the other suppression that exists in any of the orgs that are protesting you now worldwide? How are you going to do this global project? And the other thing is, how well is that global project going? Are you expanding? Are there more Scientologists now? Do you see more activity than you did, especially for the older ones? Do you see more activity here at the org than you did
I bring that up a lot
in the 90s? Has it gotten better?
Yeah. I tell them, I go, even if you only had 1 million members, that's 7,000 per org. I don't see 7,000 people coming in here, not even 700.
Yeah, no, I saw you make that point. I love that one. Exactly. The math just does not work out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say, too, I use that against them because people come up and they see the closed door and the closed blinds.
Yes.
And they're like, so I go, yeah. I go, what religion do you know that closes their blinds when somebody shows up with a camera that's doing nothing but standing here? For 2 months, I sat in a chair because for health reasons. And we were joking in the chat. I go, yeah, if they call me, what are they going to say? I go, she has a malicious chair with her.
I mean, they basically in the documents, in the sworn statement against Pearl here, it's pretty close to a malicious chair. Oh yeah. It's about. I
wouldn't be surprised.
No, indeed, it's about that good of an argument. I think. Let's see. Pearl had a question as well. I don't know, Eric. Question for Eric? Can Scientology help me be a better Scientology protester?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, I don't know how to answer that either.
The only thing that there's only 3 words I think that ever meant anything to me before any of the drills, like be there comfortably. I get how that was really supportive of you being your best, right? Because when I'm triggered, I'm not worth shit.
Yeah.
Okay? And, like the other day when I was with the Feral Cheryl at the Blue Building, I literally in my head was like, okay, calm. We got this. Let's
Yep.
go. It's all good. I'm just here with Farrell and Dusty and Jerry and everybody. And I think the guy said 2 syllables, and I'm just like, fuck you. I just came unglued. All I had no prayer. And so I can understand the value of being somewhere comfortably. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So because that's when we're at our best. So
Sure.
if I was going to really,
but that's just truism. So
right,
it's not unique to Scientology. That
God, hell no. But it's the basis of like OTTR0, like the very first drill there is in communication. OTTR0 is where you're right across from each other, eyes closed, and you're just being there. Okay. And and then it's with eyes open and etc. So it's like really the mainstay focus of all of those communication drills is you can't do any of them without being there comfortably, right?
Yep.
And like I know, like you're a great example, Selfless, because you like I don't even know when you're just free flowing, and you're chalking away, right? You'll say some really powerful, good shit. And you might not even catch it yourself, but it's because you're just in that frame of mind and you're focused and that's powerful. And then look at me when I'm triggered, I'm fucking worthless.
I mean, right? Same. I'm triggered. I'm worthless and self-defeating, really.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So
I remember seeing Selfless.
That's the only thing.
The first time I saw you was in LA.
Yeah.
You were talking to somebody and you're just talking like you are right now.
Right.
Just saying some, smart stuff to them that they have no argument for.
That's,
that's
what I'm trying to do.
Pretty good. And I know that had to get in their head, and I know they had to be thinking about it later. So
yeah,
I will say that Tori, I've heard Tori say this, and I believe this 100%, which is if you really, want to make our job easier in the long run, and I don't care how anyone does it, but I think this is always going to hold true, is as soon as someone feels attacked, like they're already putting that shield up, right? And where they're sort of discounting whatever's coming. So if they don't have that shield up, it's going to be helpful. Now, saying that, at the Blue Building, you don't have a prayer. At Clearwater, you don't have a prayer. But at Austin, you damn well probably do. Okay, have a good shot at changing something. Okay, absolutely. But at like, so even if we're super nice, that's what I'm saying to anyone who comes out of AO, we got no shot, man. These are the most absolute mind controlled beasts anywhere. Yep. So it's just, that's why I'm all for just telling them to go fuck themselves or being nice, do whatever you want to do, because who cares? Okay. Yep. But at Austin, I would think these guys aren't as trained and they're not as mind controlled. Okay. They don't have the tenure. A lot of them, 90% of them don't. And if their defenses aren't up, they're going to remember what you said. And if it comes from someone like Selfless, where it's, where it comes out controlled and truthful, and it's not mean. Yeah. It's not degrading. It's a fact. It's like, do you want to be a part of something like this? Or, do you want to have your life be like this? And like, those are the kind of things that even if you, let's say I'm a Sea Org member and I'm like, yeah. If you hit me the right way, I'm going to think about it for a long time. Yep. Whereas if you allow me to get my defenses up, hey, jerk off, it's not, whatever comes after, I'm not going to hear it.
Yeah, that's one of Tori's main points for sure. And so, there's a certain personality that's always going to put up their defenses like that when they hear anything, especially people that are conflict averse. You might get people that are more into those kinds of kind of intellectual battles that will they'll hear something that goes against their knowledge claims and they'll want to rush in there. They'll, kind of plugging up the holes in the dam, for first to respond types. And it's not everybody, but especially now that it seems like they've been ordered to have no interaction with us, that, these kinds of discussions are just off the table.
I don't think
why though? Because we're too good now. And you have someone like Miss Kim reading Dianetics, for Christ's sakes, on her stream. This was totally different. Like, people didn't know back in 1978 and 79, 80. People didn't know shit about Scientology. They just didn't. They either read Dianetics or they hadn't. But 90%, of course, hadn't. Right. And so it was easy for them. They always told us whenever there was any kind of issue outside that it was people paid to spread black PR,
Yes.
And so they're basically actors, right? Because how can, and why it worked for me is because I was thinking, that makes perfect sense. Like, how are you saying Scientology is bad when I can ask you 3 simple questions? You couldn't answer any of them. So it made sense to me that you were paid to be here and and you had your agenda to spout a bunch of bullshit. It made sense to me,
I had an NOI guy. Yeah,
now people are spouting the clear cog. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. And that's why I like talking to people like you. And I have a couple in my chat that were former members that give me things to say that will work. Like I heard something recently, they don't understand anything about Xenu. Don't even bother with that. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But I had an NOI guy, my other irate interaction.
Oh, man.
I'm assuming he was NOI because I've been trying to get there on Friday nights since you guys aren't there.
Yeah,
I think he was there for that.
Situation.
And he sat on the bench and started up a conversation with me, but he ended up trying to argue with me. Well, what I go, what he's like, why are you here? And I said, because I always start with the children.
Yes.
Yeah, child abuse is what brought me here. And he's like, well, these other religions, have child abuse. And I'm like, well, I don't have time to protest all of them. I go, this is my passion.
And it's not an argument. It's not an argument for anything.
And so he ended with, so they came out to drag him in. Yeah. And the last thing he's saying is like, I know somebody sent you. Somebody sent you. I know they did. And I'm just like, me and my husband laughed about that later. I was like, I wish they had. I wish I was getting paid.
So was this a kind of like, did this guy have glasses? If you remember.
I've seen him before. Yeah.
Yeah. Glasses, was he the guy that was confronting me and Pearl Snappy like months ago? Because I think it's the same guy. This guy
from the NOI.
Yeah. Another seemingly. Well, we just started to call him NOI guy.
That's what I think. I've seen him before. Yeah, I think that's him.
Yeah. He's at the org from time to time. But our first interaction was him trying to intimidate Pearl Snappy on the street and getting right up in her face and pointing in her face and trying to.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
And the other reason why I always thought people were full of shit was because I always figured, like, if you were shouting something about OT levels or something, right? Like, if you really did read them, you'd have died of pneumonia, right?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So, obviously, you didn't see the real thing. And they make you believe, because you always hear about, like, they let you hear certain stuff about, on OT3, they take the briefcase, and I've seen people walk around with a briefcase handcuffed to themselves, and you got to take that into the shitter with you. Okay, you can't leave it out in the course room, even though it's a locked course room. It's so you feel like there's no way this stuff could have got out, especially pre-internet, right?
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to say, man, like I said, you can't answer a single question. So how could you really know what you're talking about? You're just here, you're paid to say some stupid shit. And it made sense to us. But now with the internet, man, I might still not believe that the actual OT levels. Maybe I won't believe that, right?
Right.
But the fact that you could talk to me about Dianetics and Scientology, that would mess me up really bad.
Yeah.
Like if I was able to talk to you for that's why they don't let anyone talk now. Because if I talk to Selfless for 15 minutes over a fucking iced coffee, he might fuck me up and I'm out of there.
That's right.
That's exactly it.
But you couldn't do that when you didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Now that people have a lot of information and are, I mean, like I said, Miss Kim and who's that other guy? Suppressed Dave loves Sherry something or whatever. What's that guy's program? God damn it, it's a great show, but I can't remember his name. Depressed, no, degraded Dave or fuck. Well, anyway, there's a guy on SP. Yeah. What's that
Degraded
called?
Dave I think it's Degraded Dave loves Suppressive Sherry.
Okay,
Or something.
I'll buy that.
That's what I'm thinking of.
But like he goes over the stuff right in detail. He was doing it with Wendy the other day, and like, so someone who like I can't watch that shit, but someone it's just too. Yeah, like I said, no, I got enough of that. But the fact that you can learn and then speak in a manner where I know you're not lying. Like I could talk to Selfless for 15 minutes and find out for a fact he's not just full of shit. Okay, so that's problematic. That didn't exist pre-internet. So I could understand. And I would have done the same thing if I was Miscavige. I'd be like, yeah. No. We ain't talking to anybody. Go get homie and bring him back in. You can't be talking to him. That's not going to work, you know? And then you see the reaction. Like, in other words, that guy who wanted to punch you, right? 3 months ago or whatever.
Yes.
I was so proud of that moment for you because no one wants to punch you unless they believe you.
Yeah.
Unless you got to him.
Oh, if he didn't believe you, he could have just been water off a duck's back. Yeah. But he believed you.
He was disgusted with me in the moment. His look on his face was rage and disgust. And he called me a weirdo. You know, I'm such a weirdo for being out here on the street, and he sees himself as such a straight shooter. So, yeah, another question for Eric. Considering the terrible web Tanya is stuck in, this is one of the staff members here in Austin.
Okay.
With her whole family and her in-laws as staff and or whales. Like, she married into a family of whales. How does she get out? How do we get through to her?
Which one? I don't know any of them by name.
So Tanya's the shorter, curly-haired young woman that's usually the front lines, that's doing the tours, that's taking people in and showing them the audio and visual displays.
The one that jumps up to close doors.
Yeah. Tanya, a.k.a. Joby.
Yeah.
The best way to do it, in my eyes, is what worked for me. Okay, like there's a couple things that absolutely destroyed Scientology for me. And one of the biggest ones, and it hurt a lot of people very quickly, which was they said there was no disconnection.
Yes.
Everybody knows there's disconnection. That's not a question.
You have the constant threat of it levied against you.
Right.
Like
let me see this disclaimer here. Hold on.
Yeah, disclaimer. I know she would never come to me for help, but 1, I do my best to help her if she ever asked, and 2, she was trafficked in and is so entrenched, it honestly breaks my heart for her.
Yeah, this is what I would try. I would see if I couldn't get, like, if you ever had the opportunity to say, are you aware of the disconnection policy and are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Because I've never met anyone who was okay with it.
Right.
Because no one ever thinks they're guilty. Like, is there ever been someone who was excommunicated who said, I deserved it? It doesn't happen, right? So all you know is you can't see your sister anymore. And then your boss won't answer. You got fired, and, no one will call you. And, so no one believes they deserve that.
No.
Okay. And it normally happens to people like you don't get disconnected from when you've only been in for 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, it's so you're really entrenched by the time, you get labeled, SP. So, and tossed out. And so to me, like, that was a huge, huge thing. And I would say, are you aware that Scientology publicly says there's no such thing as disconnection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they've heard it. It's some sort of release or answer. I always wondered about that, because there is so many times they lie to the public. How do people inside rationalize that?
I'm sure you can see it on the internet. It's what's his name? The last spokesman for Scientology, who was the son of that Ann Archer.
Yeah, Tommy Davis.
Davis. And I'm sure you could locate it on the internet, where he literally says there's no disconnection in Scientology.
Yeah. He ran to Texas. I don't know if he's still here, but he was living in this area, I think, for like 15 years or something after he blew.
And so then the other thing that really makes sense to me is why the fall? Like why is it that so many people blow? Like, in other words, I understand if 10% of people blow anything, that's no problem. But like 90% of people, if not 95 or 98% of people, blow. Is it all because of overts and withholds, or are you one of just 6 people left in the city that has a clean slate and can deal with this? Or is there something wrong? Like, and why is it always the most highly trained people? You see what I mean? Like, why is it that the class 8s and the OT8s, you can't find them, like you said? Where the hell are they? You know, how come they don't show up to anything?
World with their superpowers?
Yeah.
How come they don't float in here?
Yeah.
And the more involved they are, the bigger the fall, when they find out or figure it out for themselves. The longer you're in.
Would you be okay with losing your family because of a disagreement with Scientology?
I know. Nobody else does that. Except maybe the KGB. I mean...
Well, I mean, don't the Mormons have disconnection? Don't they do that?
Yeah, to a degree. No, yes, they do. The streets of Salt Lake City are littered with teenagers.
Okay, those are the really...
It's not just FLDS. It is also the Latter-day Saints.
The farther you get from Salt Lake City, the less stringent it is. What they have is excommunication. And so, like, if you sin, well, I'll say it like people would understand. If you sin a certain sin, you can be excommunicated, but there's a path back. You can still come to church. You just can't do certain things. Things like
you can be removed from the temple. You can be removed from the body of the church completely for who you are, who you love, what you do, basic social activities. That happens in LDS and FLDS. The JWs do it. Like a bunch of sects of like so-called non-denominational
a lot of
Christian
because they have their rules. And they have their rules, and if you stray from that, so it's really all the Christian.
And Jehovah's Witnesses, it's just fellowshipping.
Yeah.
It's just a different word for exactly the same thing where like, you date the wrong person as a 17-year-old kid, or you smoke a cigarette, you're out on the street for the rest of your life and we're not going to talk to you.
Right. But I think comparing it to what I was trying to compare it to was being declared. It's so much easier to get declared in Scientology for the smallest. Other churches wouldn't kick you out for just speaking your mind.
Yeah, they will.
But I mean, not like
do it.
I guess I'm not doing it right. It just seems a little bit. I don't know. It just seems easier and fast. I don't know.
Agreed. Agreed. It's so.
I know that other people do something like it. It just seems it takes a little more in those other places, whereas in Scientology it can be over the smallest thing.
Sure. Well, if the result is a teenager or like some young person being removed from their family and being destitute on the street, I would say, like, same harm, same foul. But no, it is seemingly more reflexive. Scientology more authoritarian, easier, more infractions, more things that you can get in trouble for than a number of these other churches that have been around for a little over 100 years, like the Mormons and the other Millerite sects like the JWs, that all came from like kind of apocalyptic Christian sects of the 1800s. They all have the same thing, but they've reformed some of these practices and made them more palatable to more people, and that's why they have more of a broader appeal than Scientology.
Right.
Scientology can exist and has thus far existed from being this niche thing where they make all of their money off of these people that they're able to take all the way, just like casinos make all their money off of the gamblers that are willing to lose all of their shirt, or like online mobile games make all of their money off of the single-digit percentage of people that will become addicted and that they will spend real money on the in-game currency. It's all the same mechanism.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
much.
I think it's also it's another thing that I think all Scientologists know, but try to never look at, because I mean that's how I was, and a lot of my friends were. And you wouldn't talk about it because you knew you'd get a KR, but a knowledge report. But is the way the stance on homosexuals.
Mhm.
This is 2024, right? It ain't 1950
Yep.
with 100% white, well-to-do audience. Okay. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and
So
the
you still
fact that
right.
the fact that he makes it crystal clear that you have to be 1-1. You have to be covertly hostile, and you
Yeah.
can't get above that if you're a deviant, which means homosexual. And I don't know, I thought that always covered everything, but then he also was crystal clear, lesbian. Like that's not homosexual. I don't even know what way he had to say both. Maybe it was back then or something. But
Yeah, it's back then.
I think it was the 1950s.
Yeah, exactly. Because
so you have to be homosexual, lesbian, but you're a deviant, and you cannot rise above that. And the reason why that's such a big thing to me is everyone, especially in the big towns, Austin and LA and stuff, you can't live and not have friends and damn near everything, right?
Right.
And people that are good people.
cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that already helped you with your bullshit, or helped you change a tire, or did something, or good people. And it's like, well, how can that be? And plus, he's always trained you to not accept generalities, but yet then he just socks you with the biggest one ever.
Yeah.
That any deviant cannot rise above 1-1. Let people, let that simmer, let that come out, and say, do you really believe that? Do you honestly believe that? And you think they should be put on an island to rot?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, way easier to believe that when everybody's closeted and you have no experience with any of these people as human beings, and it in effect makes it more possible that no one ever will have these normalized experiences. And so what you say will continue to, I don't know, be more true than it isn't, until people realize, oh, wait a minute, these people aren't that bad. Like when people realized, oh, wait, marijuana is not going to turn you into an incurable addict that's going to be out there on the street, like tearing everything apart to get your next fix, like it's depicted in Reefer Madness. Once more people kind of got, whoa, wait a minute, okay, this isn't really a danger to my kid. And what's more dangerous is my kid catching a charge and messing up his chance to go to college, right? That's more dangerous, right? Than him or her or them smoking a little bit of weed, which I don't know. I think many of us have tried.
That funny story. That's what you were saying, because I'm a child of the 80s.
Yeah.
And when I was in school, I was in ROTC in a small hick town, sort of. I didn't listen to like Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd. I listened to pop and I listened to country. And I thought, oh, that's druggy music. I can't listen to that. Oh my God. The weed smokers were all, the biker,
even. Yeah.
the motorcycle jackets. We were like, oh, those are the West Side people, And then I went in the Army, and everybody I was in the Army with was graduated in the 70s, and they started playing the music. I'm like, oh, this is okay. That's just the kind of culture at the time.
Yep.
So, but I've evolved. And so that's something that, this will never do. They can't evolve. They
And for
can't
me,
evolve. They can't
to show you
anything.
how, to show you like why it was such a big problem for me immediately too was, my family, I grew up in the Castro in San Francisco till I was 7. And so, I mean, all of my neighbors were the most colorful men you ever saw.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was cool as hell. And pink dolphin running shorts and the big white thing button on the socks and the pink Puma shoe. I mean, these are the most colorful. I love that shit. They look, I thought they looked great.
They usually look great.
and the thing was, it was like the Castro, right? It was the first openly gay area in America. So, neighborhood, right? And it was, everyone was so nice. I mean, that was just completely open about it. Like they were not hiding shit, right?
Yep.
And everyone was so nice. Our neighbors, would help us with anything. They were so fucking nice. And then we moved to LA when we got into Hollywood, and La Brea. I mean, that's what 3 blocks from West Hollywood officially, or whatever. And so you see like enormous number of those people represented, and then to see the disdain from these people that are here to clear the planet, which also didn't make any sense to me. Because in other words, are you telling, LRH made it clear you can't help these people?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so Scientology is so powerful that it can fix everything, right? It's the answer, it's the cure-all. But you can't fix these people. They're just fucked.
Yep.
Yeah.
That never worked with me.
Yeah, it's a paradox for sure.
That never worked with me.
Worked.
So I would also tell people, are you okay? So they don't talk about it. Okay. So if I was trying to answer Pearl's question, that's another thing I would bring up. I mean, I would say, do you honestly believe that anyone homosexual is literally a deviant who cannot be saved? I mean, are you okay with this?
Right.
Okay.
That doesn't jive with what they're teaching them.
No. Well,
it's the cure-all or it isn't.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Can you cure this or not? I mean, why? Well, I mean, LRH made it very clear that at the beginning, Scientology is only for certain kinds of people. And so people with psychological disorders and the actually handicapped, no, we're here to take somebody that's already on the move, right, that's already successful, and give them a little push. And don't they deserve a little help in this world? And wouldn't the already productive person be more productive in it, and it be for the quote greater good? So basically leaving people that actually need help in a ditch.
Right. Yeah.
But here's the thing too, right? Supposedly all depravity comes from the reactive mind anyway. So how come a homosexual can't stop mocking up a reactive mind?
Can't think about it.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess at that point you've dehumanized them. They are beyond help. They're not to be regarded like the rest of us, real people that can engage in anything that can alter our fate, so that we're not cursed or damned. And so it's identifying whole categories and classes of people that you can disregard as human and just regard as damned.
Yeah, it's true. That's a great way to put it. Damned.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Absolutely.
I don't think in 2024 you're going to get too many people. There's just, everybody knows somebody, because of the internet too, that does anything who's a good person, because they're shitty people right everywhere, right? So big deal. So 2% of people are probably shit no matter what it is. So, you know, you go, oh, I know this one guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was awful. Okay, well, one dude. You know, what else? You know, and everyone knows someone now. I don't think you can pitch that anymore. I think they have to hide that. Like, so especially at the beginning, let people know how they feel, you know, that these people cannot be helped and they cannot be saved.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of this.
They cannot be trusted.
There's a lot of this kind of talk in the nation right now that, like, I think in the United States and around the globe politically, you know, whole groups of people, you know, because of your affiliation or something that you believe, that they can't be trusted. And like mutually from very many sides, this kind of talk of dehumanization and separatism. It's great for authoritarians and demagogues to get their way. And it's the first thing that they will do generally when they open their mouths is to recognize, identify an enemy that is the source of all of your problems, of my problems, of society's problems, and that they are the thing to attack and they are the thing to vilify. And so from the right to the left, from the left to the right, from the religious to the non-religious and back, from any side, to the point where conversation in this country I find to be more and more difficult and more ideologically based, and based in a way where people aren't recognizing their shared humanity in the beginning. Even if they have a difference of opinion, that's all that you have. You have all of your shared humanity. What you in fact have is a difference of opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm this is what I say about myself. I'm personally conservative, but I'm socially liberal.
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to push my beliefs and views on everybody, and I don't expect them to all think the same. It would be a boring place if that were so.
Yes.
So that's why I like this community, because it's all walks of life. It's all ideologies. It's all different people, all here for the same reason, trying to help these people get out and trying to end new people going in.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movement has blown up so fast and so big.
I agree. I think the only group we may be missing is religious authoritarians.
Yeah,
they probably love it
because they wouldn't be able to be in the chat.
Oh, but they're maybe getting some good ideas of how to like do the next generation and get past all of our observations and make the next really good tricky one.
Maybe. Hope not.
You know, with everything that Miscavige has squirreled to this point, and that's another thing that I would bring up to these people is what you know.
Look,
if with all the squirreling, I don't know why he doesn't just go that extra step and take out that one sentence on page 101 or 104. I forget what it is on Science of Survival, where he talks about how homosexuals should be on an island. Yeah, and then like just why not just erase that shit, since he's willing to, you know. Yeah. He closed like I was telling you guys before, when he closed, if he would have closed a celebrity center in 1988, he took over in what, 86? If, like, let's say in 88 he would have closed a celebrity center, he would have been physically removed and thrown out the fucking place. I promise you, they'd have taken his shit and his stupid rope and choked him with it and threw him out the fucking building. That's what they would have done in 1988.
Probably. Because that was the game that they were playing generally, was this influence campaign through celebrities. And if you didn't have that, you didn't have the next 20 years of them being able to basically misrepresent their status in the community. If you got rid of that, you'd be in a whole lot of trouble. That was what protected them through the 90s and the 2000s. That's all that they had almost.
But here, I'll let you guys, because I gotta go. But I'll let you guys soak this one too, which is how did this? And I've always wanted to know this because I can't talk to them. right? And I don't know how they're able to get a wiggle out of this shit. But like all the celebrities in Scientology, okay, I understand if I'm a truck driver and I'm in Scientology and I'm on the road by myself, literally every day of the year. Okay, maybe I don't know a whole bunch of homosexuals. Okay, maybe I just drive to Seattle and Dallas and back, and I don't meet anybody.
Well, you do. You do know them, but you wouldn't know that they were.
You're right. But like these celebrities, it's impossible to be in that field.
Yeah, okay? Jesus.
And not know dozens and dozens of artists, okay, that are gay.
And they would recruit better from that field if they didn't have that policy. So you're right. Like, why don't they erase it?
But how do these people? How does Jenna Elfman? And I went to school with her husband, Bodie. And by the way, I actually ate. Bodie, if you ever see this, it's me, Eric. I literally took a bite of your sandwich, dude, and put it back in your cubby hole. So fuck yourself. And he wrote on my yearbook. He goes, "Who bit my sandwich?" And that was me. So, but how does Jenna? How does she comfortably talk to all of her friends that are gay?
Yeah.
Does she let them know you are unsalvageable, degraded being, absolutely untrustworthy, and you have it out for me 24/7? And if I turn my head, you're going to stick it in my back, and that's on a good day. How does anyone put up with these fucking Scientologist celebrities?
How does John Travolta put up with this? Like, how does he square that circle for himself? Like,
I don't know.
He's got several.
So awful.
Like, he had to hide his son.
Blackmail.
Yeah,
that's why we never saw him.
Right.
He had to hide his son. His wife died because they didn't get medical care in time. He's not, he's got a lot of circles.
It's so terrible.
So I wonder.
All of these chains they have on people. But you're right. Like, he squirreled it so much. The answer has to be top level Scientology is so conservative that they actually still hate gay people. And they're actually still trying to promote hatred against gay people, and that's why they would leave it in.
So how does Jenna talk to anybody on set? Like, if we could just get that information out there, it would make it like, in other words, if we were going to be our own OSA, right, against Scientology, that would be my first recommendation to you guys would be, hey, let's create chaos amongst the celebrities.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
So each and every one of them having to answer for that policy and just stick on that until they come up with an answer and move to the next one. But that's a great one to stick on. It's like you're catching them in a bit of a vice. Like, so you believe in Scientology? Well, Scientology believes this. Do you believe that? Well, not that. So you don't believe in Scientology, or you believe in that. Which one is it? Both ways, they're getting burned. So yeah, you've got them in a bit of a vice.
But like, you see Minkoff's answer the other day that Natalie went over, where she goes like, she just totally deflects and says, Scientology is something I go to get some answers, when I need some answers. If I would have said some shit like that publicly, I'd have been fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I know celebrity and money protects
with that, but not regular folk. No.
But like, Jenna's money protects her inside the church. Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't do shit for her outside of the church. So, I'm just saying, if we made our own OSA, I would say, let's make them incredibly uncomfortable and let's farm chaos in that manner, because how can they show up to the set?
If they're filming, we could be emailing their co-stars just, Xerox copies of, Scientology stuff, and just, by the way, Jenna Elfman believes this, and just send it to.
Damn right she does.
Yes,
and that'd be a good start.
Right.
Or
that would counter PR for all of the celebrities. And if you took one movie contract away from them on that basis, it would send a bit. Well, it would be a ripple in that pond. People would take notice, be like, "Oh, damn, they're coming for our money, my future employment, and my respectability. My publicist is going to have to do a whole heck of a lot of work. I'm paying double for the next 2 seasons for my publicist to clear this up."
Yeah.
If you can put that kind of pressure on, make that a reality for celebrities. Well, in the movie, in the film industry, or in the music industry,
yeah, we've got to change
them to their Scientology more, and to specific beliefs.
I like the idea, because we've got to evolve. We can't just do the same thing going forward. We got to start being more proactive, and we are. I love all the different things people are doing.
People are really branching out.
It is so much better and different. They don't know how to deal with it, and I've said many times, social media is going to be their downfall. They don't know how to live in the light. Everything they've done for 70 years has been in secret. So the more we can get out, the more we can shine a light on things, the more people in our chats, what I call supporters, just and keyboard warriors, just to send emails.
Yes.
We can sow chaos, like you said.
I just think, I always like fighting fire with fire. And the thing is, people who, if all you do is sow chaos, like that's how I there's only 2 ways to me to do it, right? You take yourself out of it, so it no longer it affects you, or I'm going to give you a bigger dose of it for you to deal with.
Yes.
Okay. Because it works both ways. You want to play that, we can play that, and then, I think it would be career suicide for 90% of celebrities to have anything to do with Scientology. It would be career suicide.
Yeah, they don't know anything about Scientology either. They just know Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, and they don't know what we all have learned. We've done the deep dives, we've studied it, we've read it. And something you were saying about, because I know you got to go. I wanted to read something that LRH said, and David Miscavige isn't as smart as LRH. He just came into power. He took the power that was already there. That's why he does dumb shit. He doesn't know how to evolve or change anything. Something I found out in my research, I was like, it made so much sense about Scientology itself. See if I can find it. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I had it laying here. Because what it was about is, why can't they think too hard about Scientology? Do they understand their own beliefs? Because it's so all over the place. And this is what he said. He said, everything is a game. Life is a game. We're all just playing a game. In a game, there are pieces, and the pieces mustn't know what the rules are, what the rules of the game are. Then there are the players. The players are to keep the rules of the game away from the pieces. The player now is David Miscavige. The pieces are everyone else in Scientology. Then there is the game maker. The game maker doesn't have to follow the rules.
No, this is Machiavelli 101. This is, I'm going to present myself as this altruistic, magnanimous, whatever the heck, and that's what the laity will believe. I will give them all of these moral rules to be able to follow, and those will be the confines of society. Although I will need to break all of them as the ruler to be able to maintain the security of the state, to be able to work in a unilateral executive way, to be able to defeat our enemies, to root out traitors and treachery, all of these things. So rules for thee and not for me is, I think that's Machiavelli.
Awesome. Well, I gotta belly my ass out of here. I got.
Right. This has been wonderful. What a great show. Yeah, Miss Kim, you've been an excellent guest. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thanks
super impressed. I'm really glad. I didn't know you were on today, but I'm super impressed and with your channel. And everyone, make damn sure you sub to Miss Kim.
Yes.
give her a bunch of money so she can get gas and stuff. And
Yeah, I don't know
are you
What?
monetized yet? Are you monetized yet?
Yep, I just got monetized like in
Aw.
July,
Yeah.
and that was pretty cool. And something I was gonna say, it just went right onto my freaking brain. I was gonna say that a lot of people may not know that I drive 150 miles round trip.
Oh
There
yeah.
and down.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's an all
She
day
needs
thing.
gas
So I
money.
can only come about 3 times a week. So, but
Give her
but I'm
gas
gonna
money.
do it
Give her
regardless.
support. But I mean, I want. It's really the most important thing to me about being in this movement is to try to put shine on people, and who are doing amazing work. And it's so obvious that you're real. And
Thanks.
Indeed.
and I want more people to see that, so and like I say, to support the people that are really making a difference. And for you to be there it's a miracle anyway, because now that you got to pinch hit because Selfless and Pearl can't go. So
Yeah.
that took half the team off.
You guys are missed.
But you're doing great work, and keep it up. And I really appreciate you. And I gotta head out.
Indeed. All right, y'all. So with that, I think we'll end this edition of Thursdays at 2 and look forward to seeing y'all back here. Miss Kim, I look forward to seeing you out on these streets, hopefully soon.
I can't wait till y'all are back.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Awesome.
All
right. Give your doggies a belly rub for me. And see you later, guys. Take good care. And I'll be if you want to hear some rock and roll, 5 o'clock, I'll be streaming downtown. So feel free to.
Sounds great.
Check it out. Check you guys later.
Everybody, bye-bye.
Bye now.